Okay, talking about a crazy war. Title today's lesson is Waiting for God's Peace. Waiting for God's peace. So let's turn to Isaiah chapter 2. And we'll get to this in just a minute. So, give me the next slide there, Nathaniel. Peace. Let's take the question off for a second. Let's take the word peace. Somebody define the word peace using letters from peace. Hey, he with you? He's sick. Okay. Put him on a prayer list. Okay. I heard Faye say, what'd you say?
No, I was looking at the sea.
Uh-huh.
Calm.
Calm. All right. Peaceful. Mm-hmm. All right. Any other words that you can think of? It starts from one of those letters.
Well, the word even, the E, and even meaning that everything is going smooth.
Okay. All right.
Maybe like a tune, because where there's no peace, there's usually some little conflict that we're not in sync. But we're in peace, we're attuned with each other and understand.
Okay. All right. That's a good word. That's certainly a word that's not true in this war right now. All right. Good words. Now throw the question up there. All right. So what does it mean to find and experience peace? Okay. All those words. Peace is something everybody wants. Go ahead, Brenda. Huh? Comfort. All right. Yeah. Peace is something everybody wants. All those words that we talked about, that's something everybody wants. You look at these protests. They had the No Kings thing this weekend. Everybody's carrying peace signs, right? But they're not at peace. Okay? Because how do we find peace?
Disruption causes peace. Disruption in your life, in your family, in your workplace. I watched some of TV, a little story about the Ford plant in Norfolk, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how it started out in the early 30s and how that particular plant was above all the other plants that Ford were coming on throughout the country, which was quite a few that people didn't realize. They were heads above all the rest because they all worked together and produced a car faster and better than any of the other things. They have a union, and the union and the management work together, which is practically never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Then comes along World
Mm-hmm.
a peaceful planet. So, I mean, if that is an example of peace,
Okay.
it would be, I mean, smooth. People love their jobs. They didn't come, they did not come to work. They came to work because they loved it, what they were doing, they got paid good money for it, and that was very peaceful.
Okay. So peace is something that we all want and we all need. And it's something God intended for us. But the world's looking in all the wrong places for it. And, you know, that Ford plant in Norfolk you're talking about, that was the place everybody, people from down where I grew up, worked at that Ford plant.
They mentioned that, they drove all the way up to
Yeah, because it was such a good place to work, and they got paid good, and so lots of people drove. Yeah, and I remember Dad, the last Ford pickup Dad ever had, our next door neighbor worked at the Ford plant, and he got with that truck on the line the minute they started working on Dad's truck, and he rode all the way down the line, making sure they put everything in it just right. So, you know, that was a great place, and peace. But, you know, I find peace, now this may sound a little prejudiced, I guess. People in the South, people that have always lived in the South, seem to get along with one another just fine. But you let people from the North move in, and what happens? All of a sudden, there's chaos. And why is that? I mean, I've often tried to figure that out. Why is that? Well, you know, the North and the South, they never got along. Never. But all the people in the North see the South living a whole lot better. They want to be in the South. But they bring the Northern ideas down here, and it creates chaos. And I don't understand, except for maybe one thing. And maybe this lesson will bring out that one thing. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start with Isaiah and the final peace among the nations. So would somebody read Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2 through 4?
Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. Many people shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and rebuke many people. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up swords against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
Okay. What a day. And never again will they learn war. So this is Isaiah's prophecy. When and where did Isaiah prophesy? We can go to that next slide, Nathaniel, if you want. When and where did Isaiah prophesy? Okay, his prophecy started in the reign of King Uzziah. And there went through 5 kings, Hezekiah, at the end of Isaiah's prophecy. So up at the top of that chart, you see famous kings from history. Tiglath-Pileser, and on across there. Those were Assyrian kings. Okay, those were the kings that were troubling the northern kingdom. They were giving the southern kingdom a little problem too. The kings we're talking about, like Jotham and Uzziah and those kings, they're the kings of Judah. Okay, so there's a period of about 100 years there, close to it, that Isaiah prophesied. What's the spiritual condition in Judah at this point? It's not good. All right. So it's just bad. So what does Isaiah, or what does God reveal to Isaiah? Back up to verse 1 for that. Well, verse 1 says the word which Isaiah saw concerning Jerusalem and Judea. So he's talking about something that's coming, particularly in Jerusalem, that will be important for God's people. When did he promise this will happen? In the last days.
People are bringing that into today.
So when did the last days start? No. Day of Pentecost. The last day started on the day of Pentecost. The Christian age are the last days. This is the last age that will be. You had the patriarchal age that started in the garden. You had the Mosaic age that started with Moses. And then you have the Christian age, which starts with the day of Pentecost. And it's the last age. It's the last way God's going to deal with his people. So it is the last days. What did God promise through Isaiah would happen in the last days with respect to a glorious place of worship? Yeah, let's get the next slide there, Nathaniel. The mountain of the house of the Lord, the house of the God of Jacob. All right? What mountain does Jerusalem sit on? Oh, you know the answer.
My mind is thinking Zion.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, Mount Zion. That's where it sits. Is that the tallest mountain in Israel? No. No. Okay. Keep all that in mind. All right. It's not the tallest mountain, but it is the mountain where Jerusalem sits. Okay. So, looking at verse 3, who are the people that Isaiah is talking about? Many people.
I think something like Christians, because like many people, it's like people from different backgrounds, but all in one kind of group as Christians.
Okay. Many peoples. It's plural. It's not talking about one group of people. Many peoples. Which, keep in mind what Nathaniel's saying too. The Jews were supposed to tell everybody about God. Did they do that? No. They kept it to themselves. They wanted to be God's chosen people. But there are many peoples here now saying, let's go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. So we got to figure out those many people, and Nathaniel's on the right track. All right? So in the last days, what will be the desire of the peoples of the nations about the house of the God of Jacob, the mountain of the Lord? Well, they want to go there. That's what it says. Come, let's go. So they want to go there. What's the benefits of going to the house of the Lord?
To learn God's ways so that they can walk in them.
Okay? Yeah. That he may teach us concerning his ways, that we may walk in his path. All right? So that's the benefit. So here's a question. If they're going to learn God's ways, what steps do we need to take to learn God's way better? All right? Studying from the Word. Learning more about Jesus so that we can be more like Jesus, so that we can know his way better. So, we're talking about the latter days. We already said it starts in the Christian age. The many peoples, like Nathaniel said, are Christians. Because it's many peoples. Because think on the day of Pentecost. Who was present on the day of Pentecost? All right, if you count the different language groups that were present on the day of Pentecost, there were 15 different language groups from nations all around the world. All right, present on the day of Pentecost to hear Peter proclaim the very first gospel sermon. That's the law going out from the mountain of Jerusalem, which does make that mountain then the biggest mountain in Jerusalem, because while there were a lot of other mountains that had altars to all different kinds of gods on it, the only one we need to listen to is the one coming out of Mount Zion, out of Jerusalem, on the day of Pentecost, what Peter had to say. So, now, in verse 4, in the last days, what will the Lord do between the nations? All right, he's going to judge between the nations, and he's going to render decisions for many peoples. Okay, we got that phrase, many peoples again. We're not just talking about Jews. We're talking about people groups all around the world. All right? So what will the nations do to demonstrate they have been regenerated in the name of peace? They're going to take their weapons and turn them into farming tools. Not just lay them down. They're going to dismantle them and destroy them to make farming tools, which used that idea of farming tools because they were basically an agricultural society. Okay? But the point is, they can't use them for war anymore. So, when will that happen? When will the cessation of war take place? In the last days, that's promised. We live in the last days. So when is this going to happen? That there'll be no more war. Well, that's when ultimate peace is going to happen. The only way we're ever going to know peace is to know Christ. I think Romans chapter 5 and verse 1. That's the only way we can have peace. Now, to go back to my prejudice statement and find my justification for that. We live in what's called the Bible Belt, right? Do we agree with everybody? No. We all have different opinions. But a lot of people, and I'm not going to say all, but a lot of people have some kind of foundation in a church somewhere. And we've all learned from early childhood that we get along. Because we have peace in Christ, not war. Now, we can disagree, but we can talk about it and not get angry with each other. But how do people without that basis get along with one another? They can't. Because there's one thing that all of us that live in the Bible Belt seem to have an understanding about, is that Christ is a king. And if we belong to Christ, we got to learn to get along with one another. Love one another. Encourage one another. Build one another up. And we do that without getting angry at each other.
You know, I may be totally wrong in this one. Just recently I was talking to someone, and they were talking about what conservative was talking about. These big churches. And I said, somebody else, well, at least they're going to church. Am I right or wrong?
Well,
Are they better off? Are they better off?
I guess they're better off than not going at all. Yeah.
Exactly. Because you have to have a beginning to learn. If
Right.
they're smart, they're going to learn. If they study this.
They're going to study themselves right out of that into something else. Yeah.
It may take years.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, I think, if they want to be a Christian, they'll find it.
Right. Right. If you approach the Bible open-mindedly and take it for what it says and not somebody else's interpretation, they'll find a way.
And I think most of the people probably has somewhere along the line been to other churches, like, when I say other churches, local churches like the Baptists and the Methodists. So they've started doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Just want something different
Yeah.
than what.
Well, it's like Micah and Riley. Micah started reading the Bible. Then he got with Riley, and they decided they were going to visit some churches. They went to several different ones. And then they came here to visit, and they've just stayed. Now, I talked to Micah a long time Wednesday night, but I haven't got down. I'm still trying to build relationship before I drop the hammer on some other stuff. But what he likes here so far is that whatever we do comes right out of the Bible. And that's what's kept him here. Because he's honestly seeking. And I want to help him in that seeking, but I don't want to push him. I want him to get there. And so, but that's the thing. If people are honestly seeking and they take the word for what it says and not let somebody else add some commentary to it, they'll get to the truth. And that's important. So the gospel is a message of peace. We all want peace. We're all going to find it in Jesus, not anywhere else. So, real quick, we need to go to Acts 17:26. And would somebody read 26 through 28?
From one man he made every nation of men, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he determined the times set for them, and the exact places where they should live. God did this so that men would seek him, and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move, and have our being. As some good poets have said, we are his offspring.
Okay. You want to hit the next slide there. This is where Paul was when he made that statement. This is the Areopagus at Athens. Now in the background you see the Parthenon, and you see other temples that are built to different gods or goddesses. That flat area in there where the people are standing, that was the Areopagus, or some people refer to it as Mars Hill. The people at Athens loved to listen to new ideas. And they would come to Athens, come to the Areopagus, to discuss all of those new ideas. You remember, Paul got very agitated when he came to Athens because he saw so many altars to so many different gods. But then he saw one to the unknown God. And he said to himself, okay, here's my opportunity. They have an altar to a God they don't know, let me tell them about it. And so that's what he's talking about here as we started in verse 26. So we kind of picked up in the middle of things at verse 26. Okay, but looking there, what is the origin of all humanity? God. And who orders the course of human history? God. All right. God's in charge. Regardless of what people think, God's in charge. All right? And so we need to remember that. So, why has God ordered the course of human history? Look at verse 27. That people would seek God. So, you know, when you have war, it's never good. I mean, a lot of people die, all right? A lot of things get destroyed. A lot of money is wasted. I forget how many billions of dollars a day we're spending. Yeah, and right now. How many, and some of them bombs are millions of dollars a piece. All right. So, I mean, there's a lot of money being wasted and all those things. But if we go back and think about the Iraq War, a lot of soldiers became Christians. Was it back in World War II that phrase came out, there's no atheist in the foxhole? Okay? Because God's the one in control. And God's going to bring an end to things. So people need to seek God. You know, when times get tough. I remember one time we said, what did it take to get a revival started? And one of the preachers spoke up and said, depression. When times get tough, people begin to seek God. All right? God orders the course of things in human history to bring people to Him.
9/11 was exactly.
A good example. Yeah, another example of that. All right? So, why should it be easy to find God? He's not far from us. Yeah, look around. He's everywhere. You're always right near his presence. It's a matter of fact, you've got to open your eyes and see it. And realize that he's there. That he loves you, that he cares about you, he wants the best for you. But you've got to open your eyes so that you can see it. All right? So, Paul quotes 2 Greek philosophers. But the quotes that he makes are God's truth. And so he used those Greek philosophers. That's why it's so important to know our culture and things around us and what people are familiar with, so we can pull that out to emphasize God's truth. Exactly what Paul does here. He quotes 2 of the Greek philosophers. One of them said, "In him we live and move and exist." Well, that's true, isn't it? Yeah. How are we going? Well, number one, we wouldn't exist if he hadn't created us. How do we live and move without him? You know, he's there for everybody, helping everybody. All right. So we can't function without him. And then the second one said, "For we are also his children." All right. That's interesting. The Greek philosopher, they didn't know who this unknown God was, but yet we're his children. Okay? So, what's the conclusion that Paul's trying to bring them to? Yeah, get rid of all these other gods. Worship this one God that you don't know that I'm telling you about. And that would bring peace.
Think of how busy you would be if you had to worship all these gods.
Oh, yeah. And in India, you know, the Bible came so alive to me in India because everywhere we went, there were these little high places, the Bible calls them.
Nothing for you.
They do absolutely nothing. Piece of stone sitting here. We went to one Hindu temple. The whole temple was built around this big black rock. And that was supposed to be one of their chief gods, this big black rock. And what they did, I mean, they poured milk all over it in their worship time. They would pour milk all over it and then throw flowers on it. And I'm thinking, what on earth are they doing? It's just crazy. And God's not into all that craziness. God wants us to have peace. And order.
And there's no order in what you're talking about.
No. God created everything in order. You got to have order to have peace. You can't know what that order is if you don't know who God is. So you can't have peace if you don't know Jesus, because he tore down that wall that divided us and God. And he made the bridge so that we could get to God. And so without Jesus, you can't know peace, and you can't know God. All right? So, how do you see God's peace present in the world, knowing that it won't fully be manifest until Jesus returns?
Well, my idea of peace is to respect others and everything, respect them in what's theirs and how they believe, what they believe. That gives you an opportunity, if you do that in a peaceful way, you have an opportunity to talk to them about God,
Mm-hmm.
what it means to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
But you gotta do it again, respect them.
Carla, listen, get pieces of different preachers from around everywhere on her Facebook thing. And one she was playing yesterday caught my attention. And this guy said, you're never going to win anyone to Christ unless you respect them first. He said, everybody's created in the image of God, and until we see that in everybody, we're not going to win anybody. That everybody is created in the image of God, and therefore, because we're all created in the image of God, we're all equal. Which the Bible makes those kind of things clear, right? We're all equal, and so it has to start with respect, because that person's created in the image of God. And it doesn't matter what kind of person they are. It may be the vilest, meanest person you ever met. They're still created in the image of God, and because of that, you need to respect them. Which goes along with whatever I've always said about presidents, whoever they are. It doesn't matter whether you agree with them or not. You got to respect them, first of all. First of all, because they're created in the image of God. And second of all, because of the office they hold. But the primary thing is because they're created in the image of God. And so all of this mess that's going on, here's the problem in the world, I think, it boils down to this, is that nobody respects people like they're created in the image of God. Now, in the church, we understand that. We treat each other that way. We try to treat others that way outside the church, and they don't always reciprocate. Okay? But it doesn't matter what other people do. We have a responsibility to do what we need to do. Because we know Jesus, we know peace. And because we know peace, and we understand God's Word, and know that we're supposed to respect others, we need to respect everybody. And that, like I said, that's not in our society. If you don't agree with me, I don't respect you. That's our society. Okay? But if we truly respect others and engage them in a manner that we, like Paul did here, taking things that they would know full well and they would agree with, and use those things to bring them to God's truth. When we get that done, then we'll know peace. There'll be no more war. There'll be no more fighting. There's no point in fighting. It doesn't accomplish anything. All right? I mean, well, we had World War II to end all the wars, right? Did it? No. And war will never accomplish that. Jesus will. And it starts with his people. All right. Any other thoughts or questions? All right. Franklin, would you lead us in prayer?
Heavenly